So welcome back to Real Girl Talk, and tonight I do not have a guest. What I'm going to talk about are 10 tips that you need to know for self-publishing. You know, I've had so many people ask me, how do you publish a book? How do you write a book? Where do you start? So I decided just to take this time to do a Facebook Live and chat about some of the tips that may help you if you're thinking about writing a book, or if you've already started writing a book and you really don't know which way to go. Should you go with traditional publishing, or should you go with self-publishing? So there are different options. You know, I think the old way of doing things was pretty much that hey Charlotte, hey Lisa, the old way was just you had your manuscript, you had your design, your set, you did your cover, or you would have your cover made, and then it just went to printed books. But we've come a long way since then. So right now you have your printed books, you have your books on demand, you have your ebooks, and now we have the Audible books. So there's all type of different avenues that you can go. You can do all of these, or you can select, or you can hand it over to a traditional publisher and pay them tens of thousands of dollars to do it for you. But that is not necessary. And I will tell you, it's not really the norm anymore. The norm is to kind of have a team of people that you hire to help you go in the direction that you want to go in order to get the best results that you want for yourself without spending a fortune. And yes, you can publish your book for free. However, I'm going to tell you a few tips that, yeah, you may have to spend a few $100s, but in the end, it's really worth it, and not spend tens of thousands to a traditional publisher. So I'm going to look over these tips because I don't want to miss anything. And yeah, Charlotte says like I did. Charlotte, a friend of mine, she's an author. She has a new book coming out. Real excited about that. It's going to launch in November. Prophetic Visions. Right now, she's the author of Prophetic Writings, which is a great book. You can get that at Amazon. You can go to charlottebryan.com. But she has her new book coming out, Prophetic Visions, and we're really excited for her. And we're gonna, I'm gonna have her as a guest. I haven't told her yet, but I'm gonna talk her into it. And I'll have her as a guest on Real Girl Talk when the book comes out, and we can talk about that. So first thing I want you to do before we get started, can you hit your share button? Because I want you to share it to your profile, even if you aren't, writing a book or even thinking about writing a book. You probably or may know someone that is, and this will help them. So whether you're watching live or you're on a replay, a lot of times we don't have a lot of lives, but we have thousands of replays. Even then, go ahead and hit your share button so it will go to your Facebook profile page and everybody can see it. Share Real Girl Talk. Also, if we haven't met, my name is CHERIE RICKARD, and I am a published author, speaker, certified grief and empowerment coach. So basically, I'm a resource for women. I help women find their purpose. Everyone's born on purpose and for purpose. So I'm an inspiration and empowerment coach for women, strategic planning, and I'm here for you. So now we're going to get started. So couple of tips if you're writing or you're thinking about writing. Number one is social media. Now you might be thinking, well, why would social media be the number one tip if I don't even have my book written? And I'll tell you why. Because the first thing you want to do is start talking about your book. If you are in the market to write a book, or you're in the middle of writing a book, start your social media planning now. You know, we didn't have this in the past years ago, and we have it now. And it is the number one free advertisement in the world is social media. So you want to make sure that you start talking about your book now, get the word out. And even create a Facebook page that's maybe a fan Facebook page for your book. You can create that as well. Even if you had just the cover done, you can start talking about your book on social media and set a date for it to launch. And people look forward to that. So in reality, today, number one, indie authors, and I say indie authors means independent authors. That means self-publishing independently, which originally I was going with a traditional publisher, and after a while I realized that the best thing for me to do was self-publish. So I'm going to save you literally years of my research and education here. After I've wrote several books, I'm going to cut it down for you if you'll follow these tips, because what I'm giving you is trial and error, things that I've paid for hundreds of dollars, and I'm giving it to you for free right now. So yes, you want to, quick way to build your community for like-minded people, social media. So you want to start building your fan Facebook page, talking about your book, what your branding is, what you want to share, whether it's a product, a service, a story. We all have a story. Whatever it is, it may be a fiction book. It just may be a novel that you're writing. You want to start talking about that right now. So there's Facebook. There's Twitter, which I don't use a whole lot, but I do use it. Goodreads. So Goodreads it's a book lover's basic website. I will tell you that Goodreads is really great. Have I participated in Goodreads the way that I should? No. But I'm telling you that it's, don't do as I say, don't do as I do, do as I say. Goodreads is really, really good. And I am going to hire an additional help this fall because I need someone to do those things for me. So I'll tell you right now, sometimes you're going to have a little bit of help, and it will cost you a little bit of money. You can find a college student that will help you, someone that may be in the publishing or study publishing in college or marketing. That would be a good student to grab to help you with all of your social media. I mean, even some of the stores today have social media managers that just go on social media to help with their store and publicizing and advertising. So LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is another social media organization. It's really good to have a profile on there. You don't have to be interactive on LinkedIn as much as you just want to set your platform. And if you are, say you're an author or you're a business professional, an actor, a real estate broker, whatever it is, you may want to have 2 LinkedIns, or you can add your published author to the LinkedIn that you already have, and you can talk about your books that way, so you don't have multiple LinkedIn pages, if that makes sense. YouTube is another good way for a social media outlet as well. So I do have a YouTube channel, and what I basically do is I take my Real Girl Talks and some of the interviews that I've done in the past, and then I upload them to my YouTube channel, because sometimes that's a different platform or a different audience that watches YouTube versus those that are on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. So that brings me to the other ones, which is Instagram. Instagram is huge social media these days. So yes, I have an Instagram. It is I am CHERIE RICKARD, and I do blend some of my personal, my everyday life, as well as some projects and events that I do. I do a lot of Instagram stories because it's just fun. You know, a lot of people think that they have to be really perfect on Instagram or Facebook to do a story. And to be honest with you, if you're trying to be perfect, you're not going to look real or authentic, and nobody's going to want to watch that. So you really just have to be yourself and start growing a platform of that authenticity of you being an author and whatever in your daily life and whatever else that you're doing. If that makes sense. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Don't forget to hit your share button if you're just joining me live. Hit your share button, please, to your profile page, because it helps get Real Girl Talk out, and there's somebody that may want to hear this about tips on publishing, self-publishing, and writing your book. So number 2 of my 10 tips is going to be your book needs to be edited. I cannot tell you enough how your book needs to be edited. And yes, I have some editors that I can refer you to, be more than happy to. As a matter of fact, my sister is being certified in copyright editing as well, and she would be a great resource for you. I have other editors that do that as well. As far as editing your book, yes, you can proofread it 10 times. If you don't want to pay for an editor, you can give it to maybe 10 different people in your family and friends to look over it for you. But the odds of them actually studying that book and going over it the way it's supposed to be probably won't get done. You're probably better off paying someone to edit that book so you know that it is free of errors. Okay, so you want to make sure first that your manuscript is done properly before you get it to the editor, and I'll cover just a little bit of that, or it may be something that we have to cover in another Facebook, because I could talk about books literally all day long, and this is like a 20-minute show. So number 3, decide what parts of your book that you're going to do yourself. So you can do it yourself, or you can hire a pro team, or you can kind of mix it up. Okay, so I have someone that helps me a little bit with my emails. I have someone that helped me with my book cover. Let me see if I have okay. So this, and I've wrote several books. My latest book, and the kind of glare, you won't be able to see it, but this is my latest book, Strong Women, How to Live an Empowered Life Beyond Adversity. And yes, I had this photo professionally done, and I had someone design my book cover a little bit for me, and the rest that I did myself, and then the back as well. So there are different tools that you can use that will help you design your book cover, and I can share those with you too. But like I said, that might be, we may run out of time before I get through my tips, but there are some software and some free ones that you can use in order to do your book cover yourself. And it can get really expensive to hire someone to do a book cover. So you may want to do that yourself. Now, I will tell you too, when you're doing your print books, you have to have, of course, the front and the back done. But if you're just doing an ebook or an audible book, you just want to have the front done. There is no back. So as long as you have the front, you can do ebooks as well. And some people will do ebooks and not necessarily do a print book. All right, so number 4, get to know who your readers are. So it really just depends what type of book that you're going to write, because if you're going to write a book about cooking, you need to be in touch with those people that are going to be buying your cookbook, or those that you can share on social media. So if your book is about fashion, you want to connect with fashion bloggers and those that are into fashion. My book is really about women that have struggled through any adversity in their life, and not necessarily just an adversity. I have chapters in here on building the confidence. I have built words on communicating effectively, independence. So that kind of covers all women. So my range and my readers are huge, because anyone from 13, 14 years old to there is no end can read my books and get something from those books that are going to help them in their everyday walk in life. So you really have to know who your readers are. So I'm not going to really advertise to men about my book, because they're not going to read it. Okay, so we're going to move on. Number 5, and this is what we were talking about before. So you have your print books or your ebooks, and you have your Audible books as well. So for ebook publishing, there are several avenues that you can go. Some of the bookstores now have the ability to do ebooks, but most of the time your ebooks are going to be Nook, which is Barnes & Noble, or it's going to be, you're going to have the Kindle, which is more for Amazon. So really, if you're going through Amazon to do your books, you can sign your book up for ebook Kindle at the same time. It literally will prompt you to go from your printed book, and then it will ask you after you upload your book, do you want this to go into an ebook? And at that time, you can just move all of your information over to ebooks from there. You may even have a how-to book, a step-by-step book, and that's a totally different story, because you may have different design pages that show steps that you need if you're doing a how-to book, and those a lot of times they're very difficult to load into Amazon. You would have to do a totally different route, and that's for another Facebook. All right, this is really important. So number 6. Know your ISBNs. So that's International Standard Book Numbers. Now, if you're publishing with Amazon, or CreateSpace is what Amazon calls their publishing forum, they will give you a free ISBN number if you choose to go that route. However, I do not recommend it, because if you decide to take that book and put it in an Ingram Spark or any type of distributor, and there are several, we won't go through all those tonight, but any other type of distributor, then they can't use that same ISBN. You would have to purchase one anyway. So you can actually purchase ISBN numbers in a group of 10. Now, if you buy them individually, I think they're like $100, but if you get 10, they're $250. So you want to go to, and it's BOWKERS, Boker's ISBN portal. And that's where you can purchase your 10 ISBNs. And I highly recommend that, because each book you do, whether it's a print or an ebook, whatever form it is, it has to have a separate ISBN number. So you could probably, yes, Charlotte says buy all 10 for sure, especially if you're going to have just one book and you're going to have, it's going to be print, that you're going to use 2 ISBNs right there. You do 5 books and you use them all up. If you were buying them individually and you did 10 books, it cost you about $1,000. So you want to make sure that, and even a hardcover, if you do a hardcover book versus a paperback, it has to have its own ISBN as well. So make sure you go to that website and get those 10. That's what I recommend. And I'm going to preface that by saying, anything that I say on Real Girl Talk on my show is my opinion, okay? So you may have a better route. You may know something more than I do. Listen, I'm coachable. I say if we're not coachable, then we're not learning. But this is from years of experience that I'm sharing with you to cut out a lot of heartache and research on your part. So I'm just doing this for you. Okay, so number 7 tip, really important, create a budget from the very beginning. Because if you just go into this and say, this is what I'm going to do, and you're going with the flow, you're going to spend money you don't need to spend. And I know there are people, hey mom, my mom's watching. Hey Glenna. There are people that have spent hundreds and thousands of dollars not necessary to do some of the things that I have done that did not cost me as much. Yes, I do have some people that help me. I have someone that helps with book covers. I've had all of my Word documents and manuscripts put into ebook format. I did not do that myself. I hired someone to do that. So yes, I do have a small team to help me, but it's not near the cost that it would cost you if you went to a traditional publisher. And even right down to the signs that you need for book signings or speaking events or anything that you're going to do, those are things that you can totally do yourself and save you a fortune, and it'll look just as good, I promise. Okay, so creating a budget, which is very, very important. You, right off the bat, you know, in order to get books yourself, after you publish them, you have to pay a printing cost, okay? So with a printing cost, you're looking at, I don't know, I'm not going to get into cost because it really just depends on who you're getting them to print them for you. But right off the bat, you're going to have that cost. No one's going to give you free books of your book because you have to pay to have them printed. So those things you will need to put into budget, whether you're having your cover done, whether you're having someone put all of your Word docs and manuscripts into ebook format. And yes, it has to be formatted a certain way in order for Amazon, Ingram Spark, any of these distributors to take them. They have to be formatted in a certain way. So you can learn how to do that, or we can go back and do another Facebook with that. I don't mind doing it. You just let me know if you want to know, and I will have another Real Girl Talk and talk about all the formatting and information that you need to know. Okay, so number 8, if you ever hear the term subsidy publishers, run away. because basically these publishers take money from authors and promise you the world in marketing and everything you need to know about your book, and you'll end up paying probably retail just to get a copy of your own book. So again, these are my opinions, and I'm learning from experience, years of experience in writing several books that I've been very successful in publishing my books and very successful in being an author and a speaker. So I'm just speaking from what I know to save you a little bit of heartache. All right, number 9, we talked about that too. You're going to need a really good book cover. So how many times have you gone into the bookstore and there's a particular cover that just catches your eye? Well, I recommend, and this is what I did, I recommend going into several bookstores, looking in whatever your genre is, whether it's self-help, cooking, whatever it is, how-to books. Go into that area in the bookstore, and I want you to skim over all the different books and the book covers and look to see which ones you are attracted to, what catches your eye. And that is going to help you a lot in designing your own book. So I've changed my cover. Originally, my covers were completely different, but what captured my attention was when someone was talking about a particular topic, and these are nonfiction books, if they're in a story, or if the author that wrote the book has a story like I do, which led me to writing in the first place, I enjoyed connecting with that author face to face. So you will see, like my book, Strong Women, has my face on the cover. And that is not because I want you to look at my face, but it's because I want you to connect with the person that's telling the story in this book. So that may not be for you. You need to go with whatever books you're attracted to in the bookstore. And that goes not only for the actual cover and picture, but you want to look at different fonts as well. What fonts are you attracted to? And those are the ones that you want to go with, because the cover is very, very important to attract those readers. Number 10, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about formatting before we end, because I know a lot of people wanted to talk about that. But number 10 is marketing your book. You have to get out there and spread the word. There is no traditional publisher, unless you are Kim Kardashian writing a book, which I don't even know that she even writes her book. They just put Kim Kardashian on there and somebody probably writes it for her. Don't know, my opinion. Unless you're Drew Brees or Donald Trump, somebody well known, there is no publisher that is going to go out there and market your book the way you want that book marketed. That's just a fact. You have to do your own marketing, or hire someone to do that marketing for you, maybe someone that knows that side of the business. So whether it is marketing the book as far as getting into all the bookstores, being able to get your book in Books A Million or Barnes & Nobles, which my books you can get online for Books A Million and Barnes & Nobles, and hopefully by the end, well, I don't have a set date yet. I haven't been given a date yet, but in the fall, my books will be available at bookstores. Now, does that mean they're going to be in every bookstore? No, but they're going to be made available for that bookstore to purchase through a wholesaler. And that's really important, because it is your job then to market to that bookstore in order for that bookstore to even know that your book exists. You're the only one that can market your book the way you want it marketed, and that is just a fact. I can't stress that enough. Okay, so here are some ideas, and I wrote those down. These are free book marketing ideas and activities that you can do. Number 1, posting your articles to author blog. Now, this can be your blog that you have. Maybe you already have a website, or this could be another author that wants to write a story or actually put your information on his or her blog, an author blog. That's really good, because you know people that are going to their blog or their website know that they're an author, and so they're book readers. So number 2, holding a book signing at a local bookstore. This is real important too, because especially in your own community, you want to be able to get the word out that you are an author, and that you do have something to share, whether it be a story or a how-to book. You have something to share. So start with your own community before you branch out. Connecting with your fans on Facebook fan page, which I talked about at the very beginning, in social media. It's really important that you connect. So I know it's difficult to always be on social media, but if you're going to be an author and you're going to market your book, you have to be active in that arena, because like I said, it is the #1 advertisement in the world. And if you're not on there advertising, who's going to know that you exist in the book world? So make sure you're connecting with your fans. I make a point of answering every single inbox message that comes to me. I may not get it right away. Someday I may only have a few messages. Other days I may have so many I can't answer in a day. And a lot come to my website that transfer over to my emails. And so I have to go through those. But it is very important to me to connect with those that are wanting to connect with me and my books. So I do answer everyone, and you need to do the same thing. So you can send notes and just special thoughts through Twitter account, Instagram. We talked about social media stories. You can do those as well. Establishing a Google and a network. That's just an extra social media that you can do if you're wanting to cover all of your avenues, cover all your bases. You can do Google. I have a Google account. I can't say that I use it as much as I use my Facebook and my Instagram, which is the most popular way to connect through social media. Your LinkedIn connections. You can always put an advertisement out through LinkedIn that you have a book that's being published, or if it's already published, you want to have that announcement as well. Communication through an email list. So if you're just starting to write your book, or you already have one out there, it doesn't matter. You want to have your own website, and you want to have the ability for those to subscribe to your website, because that you're collecting an email list of people that are interested in you. It's not important to collect emails just to collect them. It's those that are connecting with you. You want those emails, so when your book launches, you already have those emails ahead of time and you can connect with them. Or even if it's a speaking event or a book signing, a project, or anything that you're doing, those on your email list are going to want to know what you're up to, and you're able to connect with them. Okay, so writing for guest posts on other blogs. I love this. So this is another way that you can connect. Someone, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone in your genre of writing, but it probably would be better if it was. If you're writing an article or a blog post, you can send it to someone else that has a website and say, hey, can you post my blog, or I have an article for you if you want to publish it on your website. Make sure that you don't have that published somewhere else. No one wants someone's duplicate work. They want it to be unique to their page. So I write for an online magazine called Women on Top, and you can go to womenontop.com, and it's TOPP.com. And I do write for them occasionally, and every article or blog that I write for them is unique for them. You won't see that published anywhere else, not even on my blog site, unless I take it and copy it, duplicate it to my blog. It will say that it's from their magazine. So contributing articles to offline, we talked about that. Sending out press releases. So in a press release, it's going to cost you some money to do that, but it's not going to cost a lot of money. It's important that if you never do a press release, you do it when your book launches. Very important. And you can do it within a few weeks, but it's nice to send that press release right when your book launches. I mean, I know when my very first book was published, and my publisher, because I went with traditional publishing at the time, sent a press release. It was picked up from websites in New York and California and all over. So it's really important that you do a press release when your book launches, and you want to have that release ready to go. All right, so when we talked about doing an email, a review and emailing, so emailing can not just be for those that subscribe to your website, but emailing different bookstores that your book is available. But you want to make sure that it's available for distributorship. If you're going with CreateSpace or Amazon only, then yes, you can hit the expanded avenue as well when you're in Amazon, or you could just do Amazon and then just do a separate distributorship with maybe Ingram Spark. It's just up to you. You can kind of research that and figure out what's the best scenario for you. Connecting with other book bloggers is another one, and that kind of goes back to asking if that you could post on their site. There are different Facebooks that have authors that connect with each other, give each other ideas. They're free. They're just kind of like a community on Facebook of authors and book bloggers. And sometimes it's nice, maybe you want to offer your book to a book blogger and have them review it and post a review on your book. And especially if they have a lot of fans, you might want to look at their social media and see how many people and followers that they have. And if they have, 5,000 or more followers, it might be good for them to write a review on your book. So that's a really good idea. Going on a virtual blog tour. I've never done that, but I heard that it was a really good avenue to do a virtual blog tour. I don't know all the ins and outs about it because I've never done that. I don't have experience with it, but I have heard from other authors that they've had great success doing that. And then again, with the community on Goodreads. Goodreads is basically a website where readers come together and they will review and talk about different books, and that they really don't have a dog in the race, but they're there just talking about books that they have read and books that they recommend and books that they've reviewed. And you possibly could find book bloggers on Goodreads that would review your book as well. Sometimes they'll do it at no cost, but I would say most of the time, maybe 7-8 times out of 10, they're going to want to be paid in order to write a review. I don't know if I like book bloggers to take money for reviews because it's like you're paying to have a good review. I'd rather not pay them and then read my book and give me an honest review over my book. But that's, that's up to you. So I hope this was helpful. I'm going to talk just really quick about some don'ts. Don't reuse ISBNs. So we talked about the ISBNs. You want to make sure that you get those. Don't ever quote books or lyrics or use photos or artwork without permission. That's a real no-no. In the beginning of the book, you're going to put a copyright, and authors are very serious about infringing on their copyrights because they work really hard. That's their work. You don't want to ever take information from another book without permission, or I would get permission, but you also want to give that person credit. I know that in a part of my book where I talk about friendships, Dr. Melanie Mills is a relationship expert, and she gave me permission to use some of her information in that chapter. And of course, I talk about how that is her work in that book, and I really liked it. So I asked her and she said, yeah. So you want to make sure that you do that. Don't do it without asking. You can get in some really bad trouble and you can get sued as well. So yeah, that would be bad. So I talked about inappropriate or non-embedded fonts. That goes into more of the templates and the proper templates to use. And listen, I'm going to tell you, there are a lot of templates out there that you can use, but if you are publishing on CreateSpace, which is Amazon, you have to use certain template sizes. That's your margins and all of that good stuff that satisfies CreateSpace/Amazon. So yes, you can go on there and get their template for free. They offer that, and you can take that template, take your manuscript and drop it into that template, and you can change the font or do whatever you want. And you can also use that for, other books. If you want to go through other distributors, you can, it's there for the taking if you want it. So I hope that was helpful. those are just a few tips. Like I said, I can talk like forever on the book situation because there's so much information that I have learned over the years on books and how to publish those and how to write them. And I'm going to tell you, if you're just starting out and you really don't know where to start, just start writing. You know, when my son passed away 11 years ago, I had no intentions of writing a book. My intentions were to get all of my pains down on paper so I didn't burden those around me. So I wrote for 7 years. I mean, literally journaled for 7 years before my first book, Wake Up Call, A Mother's Grief Journey, was ever published in 2014. So just start writing. I mean, it may be a how-to book. It may be something, maybe a talent that you want to share, a gift that you have, a story to tell, whatever it is. Just start writing, and don't worry about the format. Don't worry about chapters or how long it's going to be. Just write everything that you know. Over time, you will start seeing a way that you want to format that, how you want to divide those chapters. And you can also just make bullet points, you know, bullet points of what each chapter you want in your book, what it's going to be about. And you could just do that. And if your first chapter is just telling your story, then start writing your story. And then you'll see over time it will just start flowing. And so, you know, I recommend journaling or the bullet points to start, and then just filling in the blanks. And then after that, everything else will come. Don't get in a hurry, because if you think that you're going to write a book and have a book cover done and have it edited and have it published and, you know, do a book signing or whatever, this book took a long time. And all of my books did. So I'm telling you, if it's something that you want to do really quickly, then I recommend you doing a very short ebook only. Maybe it's a how-to. You can write an ebook, do a 50-page ebook on a how-to and publish it through Kindle, and all you would need is a book cover, and you can do that easily. But if you're really writing a printed or print-on-demand or hardcover book, I recommend you take your time. Start now, because if you've been thinking about it for years and you haven't started, the odds are you'll never do it unless you just start. Do your bullet points and get started. So I think it's very therapeutic to write. And if you do have a story to tell, you're kind of cheating us if we don't get to hear about it, because you never know who it's going to help. What is your story, your talent, your gift, your how-to? How is that going to help somebody else? And that's what it's all about. So I hope this was helpful for you. Be sure and go to my Empowerment is Beauty, like my page, because I am going to have a Real Girl Talk a few more times before it launches into podcast radio. And that is my dream. That is my goal. Podcast radio, Real Girl Talk. It's coming this fall. I don't know when exactly, but I promise you it's coming, and I'm super excited about that. But I will be having some other Facebook live Real Girl Talks. Until then, I'll be having a few more guests. I'm going to have a fashion blogger and an author, and I have a few more guests that are signing up and in my mind that I really want to get on the show before it goes to podcast radio. Be sure and go to my website, CHERIERICKARD.com. When you subscribe to my website, you will automatically get my ebook for free on Boost Your Confidence in 5 days. And you can give that to your daughter, your friend, your sister, whatever you like. I wrote it for you. So thank you again for tuning in tonight. If you have any questions and you haven't asked them in the comments, you can go ahead and ask them. I'm going to go back and read them later. You can inbox me. I'm here to help you any way that I can, so you don't go through some the trials and errors that I did in writing this book. So you guys have a wonderful evening, and thanks for joining me on Real Girl Talk. See you later.